Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from God our Father and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Now, Lord, hear my prayer. May the words of this mouth, the meditations of this heart, these hearts, be pleasing in thy sight, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Our message tonight is not from any of the lessons assigned for the day, but rather from 2 Samuel 11, 1 to 12, verses 1 to 4, and 13 to 15, from chapter 12. Excuse me. And the title is Tangled Leaves. Tangled Webs, pardon me. The Laxo brothers had three carved in stone rules as boys growing up at 432 Fifth Street. 1, never, ever quit anything you start. 2, always give your best. 3, you do something, anything, not because you're good at it, enjoy it, but because it needs to be done. The most important part of these rules is that Dad served as our role model. My brothers and I would watch in church as he dozed off in the choir loft. He worked 10 or 12 hour days, 6 days a week, as a milkman. Yet he never missed a choir practice or Sunday worship. His tired body may have dozed off, but when the choir director called for his attention, he rose from his seat and sang. From 2 Samuel 11, verse 1. Then it happened in the spring, at the time the kings go off to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him, and all Israel, and they destroyed the sons of Ammon and besieged Rahab. But David stayed at Jerusalem. This is where David's sin begins. It's spring and kings go off to war. But David sends a substitute, Joab, who was successful against the Ammonites and had a great siege going at Rahab, while David stayed at home. We don't know why David chose to stay behind. Spring fever, case of the loaf, case of the loaf, or maybe he wanted to give Joab a chance to win the medals. We don't know why. But David couldn't say, as Christ teaches, I have done only that which we ought to have done. Luke 17:10. And sin number 1, David bites the apple. Going on. 2 Samuel 11, 2 to 3. Now when evening came, David arose from his bed and walked around on the roof of the king's house. And from the roof, he saw a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful in appearance. So David sent and inquired about the woman. One said, is this not Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? His army is off to war, and King David is at home enjoying the peace and quiet. So he gets up and decides to take a stretch, get a bit of fresh air, and goes for a walk on the roof, and his sin will multiply. On the roof, our lax king sees a honey taking a bath. Now all David has to do is to say, I have no business being here. Leave the roof, and as for the covetous thought growing in his heart, that's easy. Dear God, forgive me, strengthen me, and take this covetous thought from my heart. Sin number 2. Most of our sin begins with a case of the covets. Yes, they are the last commandments and seem like a piece of cake to keep. Yet, when it comes to keeping them, so much sin begins with these little words in our hearts. It's not mine, but I want that. Think of the world's preoccupation with celebrity. They have talent, and most work hard to tune their skill to entertain us. Yet when they leave the stage, the playing field, the ice, or the playing court, what have they done? They have given us an hour or so of entertainment. Yet many of us covet their celebrity. They have not milked the cows, plowed the fields, taken a blood pressure, tested a blood sample, fought a fire, stopped a criminal from stealing, removed a tumor, or many other more useful skills that probably should make our hearts covet those skills and pray to God that he would give them to us. Going on. David sent messengers and took her. And when she came to him, he lay with her, and when she had purified herself from her uncleanness, she returned to her house. The woman conceived, and she sent and told David and said, I am pregnant. David fails to do his duty with the troops. Gets an accidental look of a bathing Bathsheba, and his coveting becomes adultery. The sins keep adding up. What's this? Number 3, the woman obeys her king, a child is conceived. So a neglect of duty becomes coveting, becomes adultery, and probably sexual assault. One doesn't say no to the king. A child is conceived, and the sinning isn't over. But first, let's take a moment to look at God's promise to David. When your days are complete and you lie down with your fathers, I will raise up your descendant after you, who will come forth from you, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be a father to him, and he will be a son to me. When he commits iniquity, I will correct him with the rod of men and the stroke of the sons of men. But my loving kindness shall not depart from him, as I took it from Saul. I removed from before you. Your house and your kingdom shall endure before me forever. Your throne shall be established forever. God keeps his promises to us. No matter our flaws and sins, and David's sins keep on coming. Then David sent to Joab, saying, send me Uriah the Hittite. So Joab sent Uriah to David. When Uriah came to him, David asked concerning the warfare of Joab and the people and the state of the war. Then David said to Uriah, go down to your house and wash your feet. And Uriah went out of the king's house, and a present for the king was sent out after him. David hatches a scheme and sends for Uriah. What's a little deception? With no DNA test, Uriah will think he's going to be a daddy. Sin number 4. But God is not fooled. And the Hittites' faith is stronger than the Israelites with a promise. Uriah's faith would allow him an intimate moment with his wife. But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his lord. Did not go down to the house. Now when they told David, saying, Uriah did not go down to his house, David said to Uriah, have you not come from a journey? Why did you not go down to your house? Uriah said to David, the ark and Israel and Judah are staying in temporary shelters. And my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are camping in the open field. Shall I then go to my house and eat and to drink and to lie with my wife? By your life and the life of your soul, I will not do this thing. So David hatches another scheme. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. David sends a note to Joab. Place Uriah in the front line of the fiercest battle and withdraw from him so that he may be struck down and die. So it was as Joab kept watch on the city that he put Uriah at the place where he knew there were valiant men. The men of the city went out and fought against Joab. Some of his people among David's servants fell, and Uriah the Hittite also. Sin 5. Sin 5. Thou shalt not kill. Bathsheba mourns Uriah, marries David, and a child is born. But God is not deceived and angry, and sends his prophet Nathan with a message for David. This is the message. There were two men in one city, the one rich, the other poor. The rich man had a great many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing except one little ewe lamb, which he bought and nourished. And it grew up together with him and his children. He would eat out of his bread and drink out of his cup and lie in his bosom. It was like a daughter to him. Now a traveler came to the rich man, and he was unwilling to take from his own flock or his own herd to prepare for the wayfarer who had come to him. Rather, he took the poor man's ewe lamb and prepared it for the man who had come to him. Does David know the rich man of the parable is him? Probably not, because his anger rages against the rich man, and he says to Nathan, "As the Lord lives, surely the man who has done this deserves to die." When David is told that he is the rich man, David, without any excuses about the woman whom you gave to me, no serpent, and you can find that in Genesis 3:12 and 13. No devil made him do it. Flip Wilson. Dave gets right to the point and confesses his sins. I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan said to David, the Lord also has taken away your sin. You shall not die. However, because by this deed you've given occasion to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme, the child also that is born to you shall surely die. So Nathan went to his house. Too often, the innocent or others suffer for our sins. The Lord was cursed, and David's child died. Uriah was murdered. A baby is aborted from a mother's womb. A child used as a punching bag by an abusive parent dies years later, tied to an alcohol drip. A drunk runs a stop sign, and the child ends up a quadriplegic. An adulterer destroys a family. A get-rich scheme bankrupts a neighbor. Our sins that destroy others are not God's sins, but ours, when we forget to love God and love our neighbor. The Old Testament heroes, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and certainly all his boys, were sinners. Moses, Aaron. All God's people, of course, not Jesus, are sinners, even today. Any claim to earning our place in the church, in the waiting line for heaven, is out when we look at our behavior. We began most of our worships, as we did tonight, with confession and absolution for a reason. There is no sin that cannot be forgiven. We all sin against God, our family, our neighbors, and against our better nature. We fail to see the depth of our sins and struggle to believe that God's love in Jesus Christ wipes away our sins. Yet the death on the cross and the empty tomb of Easter graciously allows us to confess our sins. For God is faithful and righteous to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. This is the word of the Lord. Amen.